Hello and welcome to this first episode of the Bike Ride Guide. This episode will cover one of my favourite rides. It's a loop in the Black Mountains, right at the east end of the Bannau Brycheiniog National Park in Wales. As with all the routes on this channel, the idea is that it is accessible to as many people as possible who want to get out cycling, so it's suitable for pretty much any kind of bike, including e-bikes. It could be split up into shorter sections, it's on traffic-free trails or quiet roads, and it is connected to a train station or other public transport. The ride is actually right on the border between Wales and England. The first half of the ride is in Wales, the second half is in England. It's a 46-mile loop and basically consists of two big climbs and then descents. One of which is the Gospel Pass, which is the highest road pass in Wales. So yeah, it's a hilly ride, but in my opinion, the views and the descents are definitely worth it. It's mostly on sort of very quiet single lane roads and in part follows a National Cycle Network Route 42. And apart from an avoidable 30 metres or so at the very start and very end in Abergavenny, it's entirely on tarmac. This video is a brief guide to the route, and if you want to watch the route in its entirety, then that is available as a separate video on the channel. So the way I've planned this route, it starts in Abergavenny, which is the nearest train station, which has lots of connections to stations both south and north from there. And starting from the station, it is a bit of a fiddly start if you follow Route 42 to the letter. You sort of go past a garage, through an industrial estate, and then around the castle and up a steep track. On the plus side, it does take you straight past the castle entrance, which is worth a look. If you don't fancy this route, there's plenty of road alternatives. So yeah, just take a look and plan your own way through Abergavenny if you like. As you leave Abergavenny, it's a decent climb, gets your legs warmed up, and it sort of skirts around the edge of the Sugarloaf, which is one of the sort of prominent hills on the edge of Abergavenny. You're then getting towards the valley that you'll basically cycle the whole way up and climb out of at the other end. At this point, I'd highly recommend detouring through Cymru, a village with a church that's well worth checking out. The route then is sort of gently undulating as you slowly climb up the valley until you reach Llantoni Priory. It's definitely worth a stop. It's a ruined priory that now also contains a hotel, a campsite, a cafe and a bar, so definitely worth the stop. After Llantoni Priory, the climbing does start to get steeper, start to feel it in your legs a bit more, and then eventually you will clear the tree line and you'll be cycling on the open hill, and that is where there's some real short, sharp sections of climb. The hardest bit, in my opinion, is as you approach the cattle grid. That's a real grind, and then after that it does ease off as you approach the top of Gospel Pass. Once you're at the top of Gospel Pass, definitely take a pause. You can see the Wye Valley stretching north away from you, and if you look left, you've got the line of the Black Mountains sort of as they dramatically drop down to the valley floor. And then enjoy the descent. You basically don't need to pedal again until you reach Hay on Wye. Hay's a great place to stop for lunch. There's loads of cafes, and if you've got space on your bike, there's also loads of bookshops. So yeah, have a browse. Because after that, you're turning around and climbing back out the way you came in. This is pretty solid climbing, so make sure you've saved something in your legs from the first half. At some point during this climbing, this is when you cross over into England for the first time. Eventually you do top out, and it's fast and steady descending for a few miles until you end up basically back at the bottom of the valley. And at this point the loop is complete and you can follow the same route back to Abergavenny along National Cycle Network Route 42. So how difficult is this route? Well, it's 46 miles, so it's at the longer end of the spectrum of rides on this channel. And if you're on an e-bike, that is the sort of distance where you have to be watching the capacity of it, particularly given the amount of climbing involved. There is a lot of climbing, so this certainly isn't the easiest ride that will be on this channel, but the big descents mean that you do get a good break and plenty of time for recovery. And there are towns at either end, so you know you've got places to stop for food and drink. It's not too remote. So in terms of places to stop on the route, apart from Hay on Wye and Abergavenny, You've got Llantony Priory, as I said, that's a food and drink stop, but it's also a hotel and a campsite. There's also definitely other campsites in the area around Longtown in the other valley. Also sometimes there is an ice cream van in the car park near the top of Gospel Pass. Sadly it wasn't there when I was there, but it's definitely been there before. Bike hire, the one place that I know of on the route is on the edge of Hay-on-Wye. It's called Drover Cycles, and they do both conventional and e-bike hire. In terms of variations you could do on this route, the way I would recommend doing the circuit is clockwise, because I think the descent you get from Gospel Pass going south to north is more enjoyable than the north to south personally, but that's not to say that doing it anti-clockwise wouldn't be great too. So the only train station on the route is Abergavenny, so if you are travelling by train, that's basically your only option for a start point. But if you are accessing this route by other means, you could equally start in Hay-on-Wye. And if you wanted to shorten the route, if you don't do the there and back to Hay-on-Wye, that removes 5 miles. And if you don't do the there and back section to Abergavenny, that actually removes 10 miles. So there's options there for making the route shorter if you've got flexibility on where you start and finish the ride. So to sum this route up, it's definitely a big day out. The highlight of which, for me, is definitely the Gospel Pass. It's big climbs, it's big descents, and big views. So I think it's a really good one. This route is available as a GPS file. Links are in the description. As always, this guide is based on my personal experience of doing this ride at the time when I did it. And there's no guarantee that the route will remain the same over time, and I certainly can't vouch for the weather, so please make sure you do your own planning for the route. If you have done this route, then please share your experiences either in the comments below or on the Bike Ride Guide social channels. So thanks for watching, go safe and happy cycling.